Hey everyone, basically just wanted to make a quick video um, documenting how to create a animation suite or just a C2 program that can export frames as it sees them. So like you could have particle effects or sprites moving around on screen that you generate by hitting a key, and it will save out sequenced images of these basically. I was also looking into the possibility of just creating a sprite sheet from it, which I think might actually be even more effective. I might create it to do that. But this will require the... what's that thing called? I think it'll either be Canvas or there's another one called GL something? Let me look. These paster, there it is. Okay, so these are things you can get from the C2 website under, I think it's plugins maybe? I'm not entirely sure on that. I'll probably just post a link with this video. Okay, so essentially I just started a new project. I put in the keyboard it's not a behavior, it's an object. And then I put the layout size as 1920 by 1080 just to give me some screen space here. I am working on a 1080p monitor. So I'm going to start by making this a black background because well actually we don't have to. You know what, if I'm going to be using, I think it's the canvas one, I don't actually have to have a black background, but I'm going to set it to black because it's not going to be capturing that. This is actually a relatively new method to me that I've never done before. I just theorized it could be done because I did create one that used the screenshot, or I believe they call it snapshot, function to create images, and that grabs everything including the background. And I think I'm going to try to have it not do that this time. I think I'm going to have it just grab the sprites with the opacity around them. If I can manage to get that to work, that will actually be fantastic. And pretty stinking advanced, if I do say so. Okay, so, alright. Probably the first thing is to determine the size that we want to set up here. We can either, we can do this one of a couple ways. I'll probably just create some text boxes. So you can type in a size that you want. Size box. I'm going to do this the correct way. Text box. Just create some text. It's kind of the hard way to do this. Yeah, I'm actually going to switch this layer over to black really quickly before I get too far ahead of myself. Okay. Set this to white. Image size. Okay. Now we just want some kind of indicator box of the image size. So I'll do something like, I'll just do a sprite. Okay. So we're going to use some white here. Okay. And do something like that. And then we'll switch the alpha to 0 so that it essentially becomes clear. Let's see if we can zoom in on this thing. I'm going to cut out the inside as best as I can. I think this is what, 250 by 250. So we really just want a single pixel on every edge. There we go, okay. Now we want to kind of just keep the corners so it looks like a camera crosshair, so we'll do something like that maybe. And maybe a little bit less, actually. Something like that. Okay, then we want one going the other way. I'm just using the box tool with the opacity set really low so that, or all the way down so that it's basically clear. Something like that'll work, I think. That should be okay. If we want, we could draw a little crosshair in the center, but I don't really think that that's necessary, honestly. I don't know. I think this is fine. Okay, so this will tell us where our image is going to be. I do need to set the viewport, so I'm going to go here to project properties real quick. I just clicked off of everything, and that takes you to this layout properties, and then you just click view. go here, window size, set this to 1080. Okay. And could turn mess with some of these effects. I don't think this is really that important. They're already set usually to pretty high standards. So I think we're turn that up. Should be fine. Okay. Okay. So theoretically, this is what our screen will look like. This black area. So we're going to put this in the center. It's going to be 960 by 540. If my memory serves me correctly. It's just the half dimensions of a 1080p screen. Okay, so that'll put it in the middle. Okay, so essentially what's going to happen is we type in some numbers up here and here. And this will reset this inner image here to show you how much capture space it's going to actually capture. So what we're going to do, this is going to be a number by number, so it can't be anything that's not squared. So it'd have to be 512, 1024, that sort of thing. What we're going to do here is on, let's see, how does that work exactly? I'm trying to remember how this works. So on text change, that's what we want, okay. So on text change, okay, we need some variables, so we're going to do one called image size. By default, it's going to be 512. We're going to take this and make it 512 by 512. So the default size is 512. This is where your sprites are going to spawn when they start, like your explosions and so forth. Spawn in there. So on text changed, we're going to set that variable image size to TD. Okay, now this is important. So we're going to do this dot text, but we want to switch this into an integer because right now it's a string. Do int and then the brackets for the parentheses. Okay, so this will set our image size to whatever we type in. And then we shall just have sprite 2, I should rename that. Call it like image crosshair or something like that. Okay. We need to reset its size so then it shows the player the current relative size. Set it to the variable image size. Okay, so let's go ahead and test that that works. Oh, and actually I should have it set to 512 by default. Okay. When it gets too low, it seems to, that's cool though that it's in real time, because it's just off text change, not on, you know. Okay, so 1024, oh, okay. Well, it seems like below, what is it, 256, it kind of quits working because these pixels just kind of disappear because they get too small to be drawn. So I could probably increase their size just a little bit, and you probably would see less of that. Another way I could do this is have 4 separate images that kind of shrink in and out. Seems like a waste of time to me. So I'm just drawing in some extra width to these so that when it shrinks down, it doesn't shrink into oblivion where these lines completely just disappear. Should only take one more second. By the way, you are listening to the X-Bridge soundtrack, the full OST, which is available for purchase separately with the game. X-Bridge on Steam. So this is done. Okay, next thing we're going to do is determine the amount of frames that we want to capture. So to do that, we'll just clone this. Do 120, 260 frames. Okay. Call this frame count. I just created it. No, I'll do that. Just create another variable, frame count, and underscore for that one. Set it to 60. Okay. Now we need a button to start the process. So we'll do this a couple ways. We'll have a play blast. Oops. Just need a button. Or like we'll just call it simulate because it makes more sense. Move these up here. I can always move them down there. Okay. Then we'll call this one record. Yeah, so record will actually save it out as images. I might even do one just called screenshot, actually. So then you can save out individual screenshots. Okay. Alright. So now we just need to take one of these. I'm trying to remember which one we actually want here. Let's try the paster first. Okay. Oops. Really turn snap on. Oh, and hotspot should be center. Yeah. Okay. Position 160, 140. What was it? 2. Okay. So now this is where it needs to be. And this is essentially what's going to capture the data that we need and save it out as an image. And to do that, we're just going to set this up really quickly. This will be on button 1, I believe it is. Those are 2. Button 2 on click. Okay, so this needs to do a series of things. Right now I'm just going to set it to capture whatever's there, which in this case will just be black images, which is okay. Let's see here. Okay, so kind of the idea here is it's going to progress everything a frame or two, and then which will be based on an FPS number, which I should probably just go ahead and set that up. Which, yeah. I did a FPS count because FPS is actually already a system variable. This is basically just going to set how many frames to skip, which by default will be no frames, so you'll get 60 frames a second. And if you set it to, say, 30, it'll get 30 frames a second capture. I'll just leave it. Well, actually, I'll just do 30. I won't do 60. Okay, I actually do need to set. It's box 2. Oops, keep doing that. Yeah, so that's box 3. Okay, so I'm going to replace this with box 2. I'm going to duplicate, replace with box 3. Now I have all 3 of them. And then this one's going to set the variable, I believe it was frame count, to box 2. Okay. Box 2 text. And this one was FPS count to box 3. Okay. Alright, so that's it. These aren't necessary. Alright. Okay, so button 2. So basically we'll just call this record. So when they click the record button, we want it to, for every frame, or every half frame, or basically based on the FPS count, take an image into the capture object here, and then save it out immediately. Of course, there's other things we could do, like instead of having it save them out instantly, rather have it capture all the images, save them into different frames to process, and then go through processing them, saving them out, which actually would help the capture of the frames per second, or it would keep a more consistent frames per second. So that is actually something I think I might do, come to think of it. And that is where sprite comes in. Okay, so we'll set this bad boy up to store images. It's just going to be off here to the side somewhere. Doesn't really matter. As long as it never grows so big that it goes inside of the. Let me turn out my margins here. Or I'll just turn it to invisible. There we go. Okay. So I think what I'll actually do is the paster will capture the images, and then they'll get sent over to this thing here, and then the actual saving process will be done here, essentially. I think what I could also do is have a preview image. No, I'm just better. Cool. Okay. Image storage. Blah, 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 blah. We want this to set to center. Capture this position data. Put it in here. And factor 12. Okay. Oh yeah, I need to do that too. So I'm going to open this up and give it a bunch of frames. There's the slow way to do this, where I just click it, hit duplicate, do this like a billion times, or do this in Windows. So I'm just going to create a random folder somewhere, apparently under my player weapons effects. So I just need to remember to delete this. Save this out as 1. And then go to that place, which was the other player ones. I don't know why I have 2 of these. Makes no sense. Okay. And just Control C, Control V, Control C, Control V, Control C, Control V, Control C, Control V. Of course, you can see how many items you've created so far down here. 64. Probably shouldn't have had these at 250 in scale. That was probably a terrible idea. Yeah, good luck. Okay, so we have 128. We're just gonna do 256 for now. So that means we'll have a 256 limit, but 256 image limit basically for our animation, which is actually a lot. That's plenty. I've never really gone beyond that, and if you did, you'd be absolutely killing your memory anyway. So this is a pretty good buffer, pretty good amount. We could even set that up so you can never go beyond 256. But this, you could make this go a lot higher if you really wanted to. I just don't really think that there's a reason. At that point, you might as well just have the sprites and particles actually spawn in game, and then just take the hit on the draw calls there, you know, instead of taking the hit in the memory side, which is basically what you're doing when you have framed animations for, you know, explosions and particle effects, that sort of thing. So it's like you gain resources in one direction, but you lose them in the other. So it, you know, you just gotta try to figure out what works better for you. Yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and delete all that. Import. Okay, so we're gonna import all of these, except for the last one, because we actually already have one in there. Let's hope this doesn't crash. I should probably save. Alright, so here's all the images. Now they don't have to be this size currently. Let me think about this for a second. Yeah, I'm gonna set these all down to 16. Okay. So what it'll do is it'll capture an image. It will force it into this frame, into a specific frame. You know, the current frame, I guess you'd say, of the process. So say you're at frame 1, it'll capture image, the first image of the sprites doing whatever they're doing, and then it will store it into image 1 of this sprite, right? It'll, you know, obviously it'll be scaled correctly and everything. And then it'll go to the next frame. Then it'll capture that and then store it into the sprite. And what this allows us to do is really quickly gather all the information, you know, throw it in memory, and then once the whole process is done, it then takes each frame of this sprite and systematically saves them out to the hard drive, and then that's basically how that works. And then it clears the information, or it might keep it and then you have to clear it yourself or something like that. But yeah, that's basically how that works. The real trick is getting it to progress the sprites properly. I've tried to do things like time scale, and that never really works for me. I've never had consistent results with that. But time scale essentially just freezes the game. So you'd progress it by a certain amount of time and then freeze it, and then progress it by a certain amount of time, freeze it. But I always had very random results. And I don't think there's a way to say on image saved successful, or if there is, I never got that to work either. So there's so much processing going on, I think pushing them all into images and then processing them after that will actually be a lot faster. Okay, here we go. You'll get consistent results, and that's really what you want. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save this. Super Explosion Creator 2. This is technically my second version, so... Okay, I'll just save this to my capx 2016. Yeah. Probably need to do some organizing here. Yeah. Okay. So for testing, let's just throw in a basic particle. concern for what this looks like. I just want to make sure this works at all. So far it won't, because we don't have anything set up to actually save anything out or progress the system, but that's what we're about to do. Just some random particle action on it, too smooth. Oops, not that button. Cool. Yeah, just a really crappy basic particle. I can't do this. Okay. We're going to set this particle to spray in every direction. So 360. We'll set 100 particles. Okay, so here's another thing to keep in mind. If we're doing 60 frames per second, you want these to destroy by end. Oh, okay, so 60 frames per second, and we own. Actually, we're doing 30 frames per second with a frame count of. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay, so FPS is 60, frame count 60. So if these are the same, that basically means we need all of our objects to destroy within that time frame, which it looks like they will if this actually operates correctly. So let's go ahead and set this up a little bit here. So we got our simulate button. We're going to set that up now. That'll essentially just spawn that particle. Oh, and actually I need some other things here. I'm going to do a group. Controllers. Okay, so basically what I'm doing right now, just going to switch some things around. I've got my simulate and record buttons under a buttons group, and now I need to set up the events for the particle controllers, which will be just, I need a simple on start to destroy the particle system that's already there, just so you don't start the game and, oh, there's a particle. We want it once we hit simulate. So, simulate button clicked. This is just going to create the particles but not record anything. So there it is. Okay, so 960 by 540 is the center. Layer 0 is fine for now. We can always change that. Let's go ahead and set it to the name layer 0. I'm also going to add on keyboard space pressed. So you can do it either way. Oh, not that one. Okay. We'll set this to on or block. So now we have either you press the button to simulate or you hit spacebar to simulate. Either one works. Let's go ahead and check that out real quick. Alright, so here's our really crappy explosion. Alright. Simulate button works too. Cool. Probably do the same thing here. Let's see. And I'll just switch this over to R for record. Seems logical. And then we have the screenshot button, so we'll set that to S. Button 3. Actually, there isn't a button 3. Actually, I'm not entirely sure what use this will have, because it has to be animating before you can really... Maybe if I had like a slider bar where you could animate it forward or backwards, and then save it out. That sounds like a kind of advanced feature, so I'm not going to put that in just yet. Okay, just gonna get rid of that. So we have it creating the particles, everyone's happy. Essentially, if you're going to be creating your own different kinds of sprites and particles and whatever, you just do it here. Just have it create the object here. And then you set up all their properties here. In fact, you could organize it in this way. Oops. And then put all your sprites here, just for organization. You can collapse that out. Pretty much going to do the same thing here. Then of course we need to start the recording process. Of course you can name these whatever you want. Explosion Particles 1. Whatever you want it to be, it doesn't matter. So it's going to create those. And then we're going to say record. Okay. This is where things get a little tricky. So we need to progress time. Actually, I don't even know if we actually have to do that since I'm doing this a different way. So if I can just do it like this. Paste. Let's try it like this. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is create a family that it's going to paste into itself. The capture object will paste into itself anything that's in this family. So if you create more particles or sprites or anything like that, you need to put them into this family so it can reference just the family and not have to reference every single object, which would be really irritating. Actually, one thing you can do with the canvas object that you can't seem to do with this one is just capture specific layers. Let me look, because I saw the whole canvas was an object. Yeah, it just has these things. This one's considered to be faster though, so it is better just to do it this way. So paste object, particles, particles into canvas, and I'm going to switch this over to family 1. Call this something like capture sprites. Okay, so we'll paste those in. And then we essentially want it to kind of freeze. I think we needed to do that. So we're going to do delta time times FPS count. Is that right? Actually a little confused about what I'm trying to do here. I think I need some kind of a trigger that starts all this processing. That's right, that's what I did in the first one. So I need a variable. So recording will just be set to false. So I'm probably actually going to create another group called recording. Actually, what this is going to do is have this wait a frame to make sure everything spawns. So wait delta time, which is essentially a frame, and then it's going to start spitting these sprites out, these images out. So going to set the variable according to true. And okay, so that's where that's going to start pasting the objects in. It really needs to do this every frame, so we need to set this to every X amount of seconds, which will be... Okay, so the interval is going to be the FPS count. And I think that's going to be divided by delta time. Or is it going to be delta time times the FPS count? Divided by 60. Yeah, I think it's delta time, because that's each frame. And then you want to times that by... Let me do some math here. So it needs to be 2 if it's 30, 1 if it's 60. Oh, how does that work? So that'd be... You're going to get different results. Let's have 60 divided by 60 is 1, which is right. Alright, well, I'll just come back to that later. It's kind of complicated. I'll just do every delta time for now. Which really every tick would do the same thing, but... Okay, so here's another variable that we're going to need, which is the counting variable, or the frame counter. This essentially counts up to the max count, which is 60. So as long as this number is under 60, it continues to record the next frame. So actually we'll set that up here and do a check for that. Compare two values. Frame count less than frame counter. And actually I'm going to set that up as a sub-event. This would actually go up there, I think. Okay. And if this comes up false, it's going to set recording to false. It's going to set recording to false. It's also going to set the frame count back to 0. We also need to add to the frame count, which we'll do here. You can just add it here, that's fine. Okay, so this will capture, might do something like this actually, so we can use a weight. Weight of frame. Okay, so what this will do, so we'll paste the object into the capture canvas. We shall then take this sprite that's going to store it, and load image, that's what we're looking for. From URL. Load image from URL. URL is actually just going to be the capture dot image URL. So it's essentially loading it, and then you want to resize to image size. Okay, so it takes a picture, loads that picture, and then immediately progresses to the next frame to load in the next frame, essentially. Okay, so frame count starts 0, this starts at 0. Oh no, I'll put this down here actually. Oh, another thing I forgot to set up. Set the sprite to not animate. I'll do that here. Animation speed 0. And then at the end I need to set it so that this goes back to frame 0. I might just have a function actually. Do I really need a function? I don't really need a function. I'll probably just do it here. I think. I think I'll do this. I'll create a saving variable. Call it false. Create another group. Okay. So if saving's true, okay, so we need some kind of switch that prevents this from repeating. I'll just call this recording switch. Let's do a compare variable. That's fine. Okay, so it immediately sets that to one. And then after it's done all of this stuff, it resets the switch back to 0. So this way it'll go through the process, hit this point and stop, and then do the wait. Waits a frame. Sets the switch back to 0, starts the process over again. So that way it basically the whole process will stop here and wait. And that's what the record switch will do for us. So it can't possibly progress without doing these operations first. We're actually going to need another switch for saving. We need a start counter. So really anytime this gets set, well, it should be wherever finishes, it should be set to 0. Probably just do this. frame count from image storage. Okay, that's what saving counter. Not saving counter, it should be. Let's create another one. Saving count, max count. Okay. And that'll be what this gets set to. Okay. So I'm just going to say saving max count. Saving counter is less than the max count. And process. Okay. 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 So this is what it needs to do our image capturing and saving. And that will work by setting the images set to 0 by default. Actually, we would not do that. We would do canvas. Paste object. Image storage. Wait, DT. Wait a frame. Okay, now here we're going to try and save the canvas. Now this is a little bit backwards to do because you can't really. Oh, actually, I need notebook.get done. So we'll do that real quick. Add it in NWJS. This is actually a really complicated way to do this. I don't know, is it browser? I think it's browser. Yeah, it's not notebook, it's definitely browser. Okay. I'll have to think for a second. I'm trying to record a video, by the way.
Huh?
I'm recording a video.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead and load that. I'm just going to load up this project real quick. But essentially what I'm doing, I might even just be able to find this online. It's browser construct save image. I can't remember which one it was. Oops. Let's see, find this image. Well, if this will ever load. This actually has the code that I need. Which is essentially using JavaScript, actually. Canvas upload. No, that's man, this takes forever to load. Yeah, this piece of code I got from a forum post, I think, or it was a project or something like that. And essentially, go away. Essentially, it's the most irritating thing in the world. They really need to get rid of that. It just warns you if you go over a gigabyte of memory usage. Okay, so let's see, browser. Rest full screen. Here it is. Execute JavaScript. So if I copy that, go here, put it in browser. We already have browser. Can't paste here. Oh. Oh, I see. Okay, so this is basically looking at node.webkit.user folder, it's referencing node.webkit. I can just copy all this out of here and do it myself. Don't want to open that. Let's do that. w.js. There we go. That's all I can do for this actually. Okay. I'll probably put this in. What? Why isn't that showing up as a real thing? Hold on. Oh, no, that's not the project I'm trying to edit here. Okay, browser, execute JavaScript. The frustration sets in. Okay, need that. Execute JavaScript. nw.js. nw.js, there's no dot. Okay, set this to super image exporter. I don't know. I forget what I even called it. Explosion creator. Screenshots. Could probably even set this up to have like project 1 or something like that show up here. Then this will set to the current save count, which is saving counter, and PNG, and not instead of canvas snapshot, we want canvas dot. How does that work exactly? I always forget. It's not image URL. I think you can do image URL. But I think you have to use some kind of base 64 converter. Oh, no, that's what this is. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I believe that'll work. Don't quote me on that. Okay. Probably have it wait another DT. Then down here, saving switch, set that to 0. So we'll progress to the next frame. And 1 to saving counter. Okay, saving counter goes up. Probably don't need this project anymore. I'm just going to close it out. Before I do though, I'm going to save this real quick just to make sure I don't crash it out. Okay. On the saving counter, saving switch 0. Okay, that should be right. Set that. Then we need to set it to 0. Okay. And it's also really important to progress image storage to the next frame, which we will just set it to saving counter. We'll actually do that here. Okay, so here we progress it to the next frame to then paste in the new object. It should work just fine. Okay, so it's okay. Okay, so let's run through the logic one more time. You click recording, recording gets set to true. Oh yeah. Does it? No. Not yet. So it creates the particles, gives it a second. Not a second, frame. Sets. Recording to true. Okay, and that fires off all of these events here. Make sure we switch to 0 here as well. This needs to set saving to true. So then it starts to fire off those events. Down here, saving switch 0, set to 1. If we haven't hit the max frame count yet, paste canvas object. Paste the image storage object into the canvas. Save it out. Set the switch right back again. Set animation frame to saving counter. Progressing that. And then if we hit our max frame limit, saving switch to 0, saving counter to 0. Okay, and then we need some kind of text indicator telling us that it's done. So we'll create some text here. Here, I'll just copy one of these. Clone object. Set this to text is fine. I'm gonna just give this a fade. Wait time 3, fade out time 5 seconds. Some kind of flavor text telling you that it's done. Increase the size a bit. actually create an event to destroy it just in case they click a button. So okay, so if they do click a button, it just destroys it so they don't get confused. But it'll stay up for 10 seconds, so if they like, you know, walk away or something. Actually, I just won't have it destroy it all. Yeah. Set it to invisible. When the saving is finished, set it to visible. Okay, so this will tell us that it's done. Okay, let's give it a shot. Go and save. I find this. Oh, let me delete this. Actually, Shift delete. Go here. Okay, we don't need that yet. Okay. We do have to be viewing this in NotebookKit, I think. I'm going to set it to NotebookKit. WDS preview browser. Okay. Close this out. Actually, close all that. Okay. All right. Should be ready to go, I think. Simulate's good. I'm gonna set this to 256 so I'll kill my computer. Okay, we're still pretty much inside the box. Okay, so let's try it. Now, if it actually is saving them out. Let's try this in debug. Okay, so really we're just looking at these FPS count there. Okay. So we want saving. Okay. Saving true, saving max count 256. Saving counter. Okay, so it's actually climbing. And it's gone beyond saving. Oh, of course it did. It's going to go up to 256. I did that wrong, didn't I? Yeah, I definitely did. I know what I did wrong. Shouldn't set this to this number. That's not correct. It should be the frame counter. Actually, the frame counter, which I should really change that to frame count max. That would make more sense. Yeah. Which by default should be 60. Where's the frame count? I've flipped these around, didn't I? Yeah. I totally botched that. Okay. This should. Let me just rename that for now. This is the max count. Oops. Okay, so that's what. Okay. Frame count. And then max count. Okay, so if the frame counter is less than the max count, add one to. Oof, man, I got that backwards pretty bad. I should have named these the correct thing from the beginning. Okay. Frame counter. Okay. Set that to max count. Okay. That makes more sense. Saving max count to the frame max count. Okay. Which really, this could just be set by default to 60. Yeah, it doesn't really matter, I guess. Okay, let's try this again. Wow. That's so cool. You actually stored previous images in the canvas object. Totally unintentional, of course. I forgot to clear it out. That should be an option you can click. That would actually be really cool. Yeah. Okay, so these are theoretically saving to Super Explosion Creator, so I have to find that folder. Should be here, I think. I'm trying to record a video.
Huh?
I'm recording a video.
What are you recording?
A video
Or
about
are you
how
talking
to
about
make
the
a program.
things that we were talking about today?
No, I'm literally in the middle of recording a video.
Oh, you're still recording right now?
Yeah, it's like, stop talking.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I'm not giving you these chips.
What?
Save for later. Our lives.
Okay, so we're looking for that folder, which doesn't seem to be existing, actually. It's not under screenshots. It could be that there's a problem with the naming convention, maybe. So let's see. Let's just try screenshots. Aha. Okay. Okay, so it just didn't like my naming for that folder. That's what happened. Okay, so we have 0 through 59. They're all literally the same image. But we can work on that. Okay. So here we're going to clear this. Clear to color. Just try that, I guess. Okay. Okay, so now it's clearing properly. There we go. Okay, so now it's repeating again. So it's like it did it right, and now it's just going over itself infinitely. Okay, so I gotta fix that. Alright, so frame counter. Okay, that's correct. Saving counter is less than the saving max count. I feel like oh, you know what it is? I didn't set saving true to false. So let me close this out. That's what happened. Ha 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 ha. Okay. Okay, cool. I can fix that easily. Okay, so saving equal to false. And we need it to clear the canvas after it saves. I was going to go and do that. Canvas, click canvas. And that should do it, actually. Okay, so it's actually done by the time it gets to frame 11. So it just creates a bunch of extra frames for no reason. One way that you can fix this is by... Okay, so essentially... This is where it gets tricky. So this is where the FPS count, I think it is, comes into play. Yeah. This is where it gets kind of hard. I always forget exactly how this works. So you really want it to wait at this point, right here, while you also froze the game for a short amount of time. One way you can do this is have a sprite that's timescale is independent. So you just call it like the clock or something, I don't know. You might actually be able to reference the actual time that's passed, but you know, you don't have to do that. This could work just as easily. This is simpler, I think. So we're going to do that, give this a timer. It's just going to be off here somewhere out of the way. And we go here, set. That's over. This is one of those things where it like hurts my brain to try and think about. Okay, so does it need a timer? I feel like it does. Yes, it does need a timer. It needs to wait. $60 divided by, is it 60 divided by dt? Or is it dt divided by 60? Or is it dt times 60? I think it's 60 times dt. But that would be a second. I think. Let's call it clock. Okay, so this is going to set our time scale back to 1. Okay, we are essentially going to be freezing the game here. I think it is. And then immediately setting the clock's time scale to 1. We want it to be operating independently of everything else. And that way its timer actually ticks down to progress the frames. Honestly, you could set this to anything. You could have this be like a decent amount of time between frames to allow the game to finish saving out your images. I think that there's probably a better way to do this, because you want it basically to finish, you know, loading it in here and progressing everything. So Yeah, these are mostly all things that happen instantly. I think set the clock's timer to DT time 60 times DT. That'd be 60, right? 60 frames. DT would be 1 second. I don't know if that's what we want, but we'll try it anyway. What's the worst that can happen? Yeah, it's 1 second. So it progresses at a second each time. Probably not what we want. That's clearly not a second, though. Maybe this is exactly what we want. It's really slow, though. So I might turn this to DT, or DT times... I don't know. So it has a 5-frame buffer. I think that that'll look a little bit better. Yeah, because we still get to only 11. It's like it hits the same every single time regardless. Interesting. Watch, it'll probably do the same thing. Maybe it's because we're setting the time scale to 1 instead of like 0.5 or something like that. Maybe we just have to tune what the time scale actually is. So it'll be double as long, theoretically. Yeah, look at that. Doubles it. Okay. I think we're onto something here. So if we wanted to take up all 60 frames, halving this would make it 40. 30 it would be making it a third. 0.5 divided by 3. 1.666. Throw a 7 in there. Okay. Let's try that. This should theoretically get us 60 frames. Okay, so it just took a little tuning, I guess. Look how smooth that is. That's beautiful. Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, look at that. Oh, yeah. Might need to be a little bit higher than this, maybe. We could just go for an even 1.7 or 8. Beautiful. That's awesome. Okay. Watch it recreate them all. Perfect. Look at that beautiful ending. And let's double check that they have opacity. Pretty sure they do. Actually, how would I check that? Maybe drag one of these into C2, maybe. Ah, that's not. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. It's got opacity and everything. Oh, man, that is just fantastic. That is fan-freaking-tastic. I am so happy with that. This is awesome. This is amazing, actually. Yeah, so, okay. So, yeah, with some relatively complex code and a little bit of JavaScript, which I'll put that in a link somewhere. So you can just copy paste and just make little changes. You can come up with a animation creation program, and then if you want to kind of expand it, obviously tweak your particles and tweak what it creates. You know, you can have it create sprites, you can have it create all sorts of, really anything that you want inside this area. just simply put them into capture sprites, make sure they don't go outside the box, and yeah, this is the recording part of it, so this is already done. That's the hard part. Now it's just a matter of making your sprites, making your effects. Alright, I think with that I shall... Oh, actually, you know what? Just to show what this looks like in finality, I'll open this up here. Import from files. This is how you actually use these, I guess you could say. I go to tank screenshots, grab all these, pull them in, delete the first frame, go to the animation, set this to 60, sure, and preview. Yep, we have a beautiful explosion. Animating sprite. That actually looks really good. And of course you can speed this up or slow it down by adjusting those timescale values. And it would probably make sense to, instead of FPS, call this timescale. And then just set it to, you know, 180. 0.180 or whatever. And then set this to what was it called? FPS count? Yeah, so then you can just dial this however you want. Yeah, I think that's about all we need. This was functional. Unfortunately, yeah, then your frame count is how many frames you actually want to spit out. I'm trying to think what else there really is. Yeah, so if you want to double, if you wanted it to move at twice the speed, you would actually just adjust this number by going in here. Um, 36. And record. What did I do? Uh-oh. Didn't like that at all. Maybe I typed the wrong number. Maybe. Okay, 0.2. It doesn't seem like it likes me anymore. So maybe sticking with 0.18 is probably what you want to do. It doesn't seem to like this. Seems like it should work. Let me try it without changing that number. Yeah, just changing that number, it just doesn't really like that. It's pretty weird. Well, anyway. Alright, well, that's something you'll just have to figure out yourself. You can just adjust the number here, so you don't even need the option. If you were to try to create an exported version of this program, then you'd probably need to figure out how to set these up a little better for versatility. Maybe add more options and stuff. Import your own images and that sort of thing. But that is definitely not for this video. Alright, well, thanks for watching, and good luck, best of luck to you. And until next time.